Hello and welcome back. I guess today we're going to be talking about adding some Barkbusters, some hand protection on the Kawasaki Versys X300. And what I've found is the industry has a lot of designs, a lot of companies jumped in, and I find some shortcomings with most of them. But today, what I've done is I bought something from T-Rex Racing. It's one part number, and I believe it to be their metal, their aluminum bars, their aluminum structure that they also add in genuine Barkbuster handguards. And what I've got here is one that's already installed. This is on my Versys 300, and this is the T-Rex Racing metalwork that comes up over. And here's your Barkbuster VPS handguard, which has an adjustable, screwed in, adjustable feature. Comes around to here. This here, of course, is bolted into the handlebar that once had what looked like the Kawasaki slider, and we'll get to that on the table here in a minute. So the point is, this is very structurally sound, very beefy, and you can almost lift the bike up. I'm wiggling around pretty good here, putting at least 20 or 30 pounds of pressure on it. It's not moving. These are really sturdy. So with that said, here's the other side that I had installed but I've uninstalled. And again, here's Barkbuster or T-Rex's metal that comes up over. This is the other side that I had on at one point. And it comes up over and it stays away from all your cables. Another YouTuber got into some trouble with another design where the metal came down right through this cluster of cables. He actually broke one of his adjusting barrels. I think it was on his throttle cables. This is bad news. You don't want to mess with this, or even down here. Again, it's just real busy with a lot of fragile cables and stuff. You just want your design to go up over. T-Rex is one of the only ones that do that, along with this really sturdy part. So in here we have a weight. It's called a Kawasaki. It's called the bar weight. It's got two rubber grommets on it. Now mine is in there, along with this in the very end. Kawasaki's calling this thing with like 4 fingers. That's like a clamp, and that's what clamps against the original slider. This is the original Kawasaki part that went in there, and that's what holds it all together, along with of course a long hex head bolt that just goes straight in. And the bar weight with that grommets, when they're dry, they're really hard to get out. There's videos on that. And this is, I'm not going to try to tell you or walk you through that, but you just basically put your wrench, your T5 wrench in there, and in the end of this, and you just start wrenching on it, and you're pulling real hard out to get that weight out. I don't have the weight to show you, but I've got it mocked up. It looks a lot like this. This is just parts from around the house. The bar weight looks like this. You got a rubber grommet on each end that goes inside the inside diameter of the steering. Then you've got this 4-fingered, I just found a piece of metal that mimics it roughly. You got this 4-fingered clamp that this goes into, and all this right up to this point is inside your steering. So with that said, these come out. This is what T-Rex provides. It goes in, and T-Rex gives you different bolts. T-Rex also supplies some stuff that you don't use. There's some little rubber parts and a couple nuts. Discard those. So when you get your weight out, a lot of times they're asking you to put some, and I did the same thing, put some WD in there as you're getting a little bit of space between that bar end, that's the slider, and the handle grip. There's spraying in there, and then you got to get that stuff back off because the rubber has to be dry. So I use just denatured alcohol. It can be purchased about anywhere like Home Depot. So you got to get your rubber nice and dry, and don't use any of the high-powered stuff. It'll start to dissolve your rubber. So denature is a good choice, and it gets your rubber nice and clean. Again, those little rubber grommets, nice and clean. So then when this goes in, this is a little different diameter, and you know, it'll go in there, but it's a little tighter fit. But when you're done, you want this to be right snug up against there. So the depth that you put that weight back in is dependent on the length here. You got to make sure that you're just, in fact, you can kind of all put it together and then maybe use like a block of wood and tap everything in as a whole. I think that's what I ended up doing. There's another little oops though, and that is that the screw, this is the one that T-Rex gives you, when you put it in, it actually bottoms out in the inside the weight before this makes contact with the forefingers and the clamp and the weight itself. I actually had to take and cut off about a 1/4 inch of these bolts. This is all the kind of stuff that you want to know about before you get started, and it's not addressed in the T-Rex YouTube video. They got a great product, but their video doesn't even discuss putting the weights back in. And the instructions itself just refers you to the YouTube video. I mean, they've got a pictorial here, but it doesn't tell you what to do with these, which you don't do anything with unless you're using it on a KTM 1190. It doesn't talk about putting the weight back in. So when you put the weight back in, one way to do that is to just use a spray bottle with some water and a little bit of dish soap, and it gets the rubber wet, and that makes I didn't even think of this till it's too late. I put mine in dry and it was a pain. But you spray the little rubber grommets, put a little bit of spray in the tube here in your handlebars, and then that should make that go back in. A lot of times you use that for like even window film and other tricks, you know, to get something that's dry normally. And once that gets in there, that little bit of dish soap and water, that evaporates, that's gone. And you'll end up with something that's as stout as this, where it's not going to move. It literally will not move. So a lot of the other designs have, you know, some attachment here and just floats around. Most of the other ones that have a single pointer on this side, even the Kawasaki version, it attaches here, comes out with plastic, and it's just mostly for wind protection. Well, this is going to give you wind, rocks, anything heavy, even impact. Heaven forbid, you know, you go down or hit something or even drop the bike. This is going to hopefully protect your levers, your controls, and it's just really stout. T-Rex and Barkbuster combination here is doing a wonderful job. So I hope that helps a lot. Just take it slow, and if you're running into trouble, try to solve a problem. But I managed to tell you about most of what I ran into, getting the weight system out and then getting it back in, and then running into the fact that this bolt now is going to be a little too long, and it bottoms out into the weight before this whole thing has a chance to really butt up against that little clamp and against the bar weight and become all flush. And when you're putting this stuff back together, I use some Loctite. I got a little thread locker, and that's important as well. So just a quick video on yet another upgrade, and I'll come out with some more as well. I already have other videos up for the T-Rex heavy duty skid plate and some mods to that, and then also a 15-tooth front sprocket with rubber bushing, and it's done right with Kawasaki parts. So check out some of my other videos, and this is Dave signing off. Have a good day.